Hello, it's Chris back again for another video, and let's welcome our participants, Kevin and Ryan.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
What I'd like to talk about today is a kind of follow-on from the ESA lesson video that we looked at before, in particular the study part of it. Now, whether you're teaching online or indeed in a classroom setting, as hopefully we'll go back to after this COVID crisis is over, it's important that you keep your students' interest levels up and keep them engaged throughout the lesson. And of course, the ESA lesson videos that we looked at before shows you how to do that. But let's focus now on the study exercises. Because again, you know, even with those exercises, we do need to keep them engaged and to keep their interest. And so it's important that we give them a variety of different types of exercises. Don't just give them the same type lesson after lesson, or even within the same lesson. Otherwise, boredom will set in. So it's useful to know the different types of exercises that we can give students for both vocabulary and grammar. Okay, so that's what I want to look at today. Okay, so just want to share my screen with you and to show you a PowerPoint. Okay, can you see that?
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
Okay. Great, good. So, as I said, we're going to look at different types of exercises because there are, in fact, quite a few types, probably more than you realize. And so it's useful to know what they are. Okay, so let's start by looking at exercises that you can use to give students practice in the vocabulary point of our lessons. Okay, so here's our class. So then, let me start by asking what types of vocabulary exercises do you know?
Multiple choice.
Okay, multiple choice, good. Okay, that's number 9 here. Okay, multiple choice. There are a couple of variations of multiple choice. We can have multiple choice that complete a sentence or answer a question. Or we can have multiple choice that just identify a particular vocabulary item. And here are a couple of examples. Okay, the one on the left is a multiple choice that answers a question. Okay, and the one on the right is a multiple choice that just say identifies a particular vocabulary item. Okay, so either one of these, good. Okay, so let's go back to our class. Good, so that was multiple choice. Any others that you know?
Matching, some sort of matching exercise.
Okay, good. Matching is good. Okay, matching is good. Okay, and again, we can have a couple of variations here. We can have matching text. Let's say the vocabulary item with some text, perhaps its definition. And we can also have matching the vocabulary item, the word, with pictures. So here we are, a couple of examples here. Again, the one on the left is matching the words with the pictures. And the one on the right is matching with definitions. Okay, good. So let's go back to our class. There we are. Okay, good. Any others?
Bingo.
Bingo. Okay, good. Okay, so with bingo, again, a couple of variations. You could have text in the boxes or the squares. or indeed you can have pictures of the vocabulary items. Here we are, a couple of examples. The one on the left, as you see, has text in the boxes. The one on the right has pictures. It's probably better if you are going to have a bingo exercise, probably to have a 3x3 grid, because 5x5, which is the usual bingo grid, might take quite a long time before you get a winner. Okay, bearing in mind that you do have only a finite lesson duration there, so that might take too long. Okay, good, bingo there. What others do you know?
Some sort of fill in the blank exercise.
Okay, fill in the blank. Okay, that's number 8. Okay, fill in the blank, also known as gap fill. Again, a couple of slight variations here. We can have gap fills in individual sentences, or indeed we can have gap fills in paragraphs or conversations. And so here we are, a couple of examples. The one on the left, gap fills or fill in the blank in individual sentences. And the one on the right, we have 3 short dialogues, again with the gap fills there. Very good. Okay. Get back to our class. Good. Okay. Do you know any others?
Hangman?
I'm sorry?
Hangman?
Hangman. Okay. Hangman is a good vocabulary exercise, yes. It's not on this list for the simple reason that hangman is often used as a prompt to elicit spelling during the vocabulary work.
Right.
And if indeed you are using it as a prompt to do that, it's probably better not to then use it as an exercise in the same lesson. Otherwise, there's kind of too much of it. Okay, but certainly if you're not using it as a prompt to elicit spelling, you can certainly have it as a vocab exercise. It's very good, of course, for sort of verbal open group exercise, which is a really good way of doing the exercises. So yes, that's certainly a possibility there. Good. Any others?
Some sort of unscrambling, you know, the words or unscrambling sentences.
Okay, well, not sentences. What we're concerned with now is just the individual vocab words, but yes, there is a way of scrambling that. And that is scrambling the letters. Okay, these are called anagrams, okay, where you've got the letters scrambled. Slight variation is where the letters are in the right order, but some of them are missing, and you have to fill those in. So, a couple of examples here. The one on the left, yes, those are the anagrams. Okay, they have to put the letters in the right order to spell the word. And the one on the right, fill in the missing letters to complete the word. Good. Okay. Good, back to our class. Any others that you know of?
Maybe a word search?
Okay, a word search is a very popular one, yes. Okay, so that's number 2. A word search is very popular. It's very popular as a puzzle anyway, but it's certainly a very good spelling exercise. And so here's an example. Unlike the puzzle though, there's really no value in just having the list of words for them to look at. Okay. Rather, this is about word recognition, spelling recognition, and so you can have either the pictures, as in this example, or indeed, as long as you're doing this immediately after your vocabulary work, you can tell the students that all of the words they've just looked at are in the grid, and they have to find them. Okay? So yes, something like this. Very good. Okay, back to the class. Any others?
Well, Do crosswords kind of fall into the same field as
Okay,
word search?
crosswords, yes. Okay, so they're similar. Again, a word puzzle. Okay, but crosswords, again, certainly a valid vocabulary exercise. Again, a couple of variations here. You could have text clues in the crossword, typically the definition of the word. Or indeed, you could have picture clues. So something like this. Okay? As you see, the one on the left has text clues, actually combined with a sort of fill in the gap as well. And the one on the right has picture clues. So yes, crosswords, Ryan, very good. Okay, back to the class. Hey, any others that you know?
Can't think of any at the moment.
Okay, we've looked at quite a few. There are a few more. And as I said, you know, it does help to know the sort of full range, just to be able to give you more variety. So are there any others that you can sort of immediately think of? Okay, if not, not a problem. Let's have a look at a few more. The next one along, I think, will be this, where what we're doing is we're labeling. Okay, we're labeling, and again, a couple of variations here. We can label individual pictures with the words, or indeed, we can label parts of one big picture with the various words, as we see here. Okay, so labeling a picture or pictures is another good vocab exercise. Okay. Moving on. Shout out though if any others do come to mind. Okay, but another one we have is categorization, where we're sorting the words into different subcategories of the topic. Okay, so an example is here, where we have various animals, okay, and we're sorting them into subcategories of how they move. Okay, so categorization is a very good exercise. Any others that you can think of? You mentioned multiple choice earlier. There are a couple of variations of multiple choice. Think of a two-choice multiple choice. Anyone?
True, false.
Okay,
True,
yeah.
false.
Okay, true, false. True, false is a variation of multiple choice, two-choice multiple choice. Again, a couple of variations of that. We can indeed have true, false, or indeed we could have any sort of two related categories. So, an example of this, the one on the left is indeed true, false. The one on the right is a variation of that. It's basically saying whether something is an advantage or a disadvantage. Okay, so any two related categories like that. Okay, and these are essentially two-choice, multiple choice. Okay, good. And again, there is a variation of multiple choice where the choices could be two or more. The choices are actually within the sentences. So it is indeed sort of choosing the correct word in a sentence. Okay, so something like this. Okay, choosing the correct word in a sentence. This example has 4 choices within each sentence. Again, essentially, it's a variation of multiple choice. Okay. And there is one other, which is something perhaps not so obvious, but it's a very good exercise. Okay, word families, where students are given certain words and they have to come up with related words, words within the same sort of or different parts of speech, let's say. Okay, so something like this. Okay, students fill in the missing words to complete the different parts of speech for the same root word. Okay, so word families there. Okay. Now, whatever type of exercise that you have for vocabulary, it's important that the exercise contains only the words that you have covered in your vocabulary work. It would be quite unfair to give students an exercise that has new words that actually were not covered in your vocabulary. Okay, so that's something to watch out for. Okay, make sure the exercises contain all the words, no more, no less than the ones that you covered in your language. Of course. Sorry.
Any of those exercises, I know some of them are more suited for the study phase than the activate phase, but are there any exercises that could kind of help lead into the activate phase, or maybe even be used in the activate phase?
Okay, we'll come to that. We'll come to that in a few minutes. You know, these are vocabulary exercises. As you know, your language points may also be grammar.
Right.
And so we're going to look at some grammar exercises as well. We're just coming to that. But hold that thought, because we'll address that at the end of the grammar exercises.
Okay.
It's possible, of course, that your only language point is vocabulary.
Right.
In case, once you've finished your study stage, which will all be concentrating on the vocabulary, you will then move on to activate. As we're going to see, with your study exercises, they should build up in sort of level of difficulty and level of complexity. And your final exercise should lead into the activate in some way. At the very least, it should act as a model for the activate. Okay? But bearing in mind that in the activate, we want the student speaking in full sentences, not just a list of vocab words. Okay? So you will need some kind of exercise, perhaps, that has the students using the words in their own sentences. Okay? Well, hold that thought, because we will look at that in a minute when we look at the grammar. Okay? Any other questions?
No.
Okay, so in that case, let us indeed move on to the grammar exercises. Now, 5 of the vocabulary exercise types can also be used for a grammar point. Any idea which 5 they are?
Multiple choice?
Multiple choice can certainly be used for grammar as well, yes. Good.
Gap fill.
Gap fills can as well, yes.
Matching.
Okay, matching can in certain cases, yes. You can certainly match parts of a grammatical structure, yes.
The one where you select the correct word in a sentence, you have maybe 4 choices.
Okay, yes. So, well, again, you mentioned multiple choice, and yes, the other 2 variations of multiple choice can also be used for grammar. So choosing the correct word in a sentence, yes, and also true, false. Good. Those 5 can also be used for grammar exercises. So we won't look at them again.
Chris, can categorization be used in grammar? Like categorizing?
Yes, actually, yes, you're right. Categorization can be used as grammar as well, yes. Good. Okay, so in fact 6. Very good. Okay, and there are 5 other types of exercises that we can use for grammar. Okay, so let's go to our grammar class. There we are. Okay, so 5. We see 2 students here not participating. One's having a break. He's drinking something. The other one's chatting to her boyfriend on the phone, so she's not taking part. Okay, but there are 5 students working here. Okay, 1 for each of those exercises. Any idea what they are?
Like a formula, sentence structure formula, yeah, like object plus subject.
Okay, good. That type is actually not here, but yes, that can certainly be used where perhaps you give the students a sentence and ask them to identify what the different parts of the sentence structure are, or indeed what are the different parts of speech and so on. Okay, so good. Okay, sentence structure identification. Okay, good one. Thank you. Any others? We looked at anagrams, remember, which were jumbled letters within a word. Extend your sentence.
Jumbled sentences.
Okay, jumbled words, let's say. Okay,
Right.
so number 1, jumbled words. Yes, as I say, this is just an extension. Instead of jumbling the letters within a word, we jumble the words within a sentence. And of course, students have to put the words in the right order. So here's an example. A very good exercise for sentence structure here. Okay, students have to put the words in the right. Good. Okay, so jumbled words. Any others you could think of?
Can't think of any right now.
Okay, yes, this is a bit trickier when it comes to grammar. That's okay, not a problem. Okay, let's have a look at these in order then. Error correction.
Error correction, of course, yeah.
Error correction. This is a very popular type of question in, for example, proficiency tests, where given a sentence, the sentence contains some kind of grammatical error, and the students have to identify the offending word. And a sting in the tail, of course, is that they then have to correct it. Okay, so an example is this. Okay, each of those sentences has some kind of error, and the students have to find it. Good. So error correction there. A very popular one is changing a grammatical form. So students are given a sentence that has a particular grammatical form, and they have to change it to another one, typically one verb tense to another. So here's an example, and indeed the sentences given are either in the present simple or the future simple, and students have to rewrite the sentences in the past simple. Okay, so that's a popular one. Okay, so moving on. Okay, so in this type, replacing, students are given a sentence and have to replace part of the sentence with some other kind of equivalent grammatical form. Okay, so the example we see here is that students have to replace the underlined part of each sentence with a pronoun, a suitable pronoun. Okay, so this is another type. Perhaps not so common, but just as valid as all the others. Now, Ryan, You asked earlier about exercises that sort of could be used for Activate. We wouldn't actually use an exercise for Activate itself. One of the differences between the study exercises and the Activate activity is that the study exercises are controlled by the teacher. Okay? They're controlled practice, and part of that control is that the teacher gives the students the language. As you saw in those exercises, all the previous exercises, all the language was given in one form or another. Okay? But with the Activate, we don't give them the language. Okay? We give them the situation, scenario. They have to now make their own language to talk about that, obviously based on what's been covered before. There is, however, one type of study exercise where we are asking students to make their own language, okay? And that is writing their own sentences. Okay, now, this is the hardest type, the most difficult type of study exercise for students. And so if you're going to have this, this should be your last study exercise, okay, before the Activate. And as such, it could certainly act as a model for Activate. The sentences that they write here, they can then base whatever they're going to write and then say in the Activate on these. Okay, so this is a very good model and lead-in for the Activate. Okay, so we're asking them to write their own sentences based around something. Okay, here they're writing sentences based around a visual they see. Does that answer that right?
Yes.
Okay, great.
This could be a good lead into maybe sort of a class presentation in the Activate, right, where they have to present certain sentences.
As you've seen in the online course, there are different types of activities that we could do for Activate. All of them have one thing in common though, and that is that they get the student speaking. And certainly a presentation is a common type of activity for that. And yes, this can act certainly as a model for that. Okay, good. Any other questions?
No.
Okay, good. Now, we've looked at exercises for both vocabulary and grammar. And certainly most of those exercise types can be used along with comprehension exercises in conjunction with audio and video recordings as well, which, if it's a conversation course, is very important because they certainly do need that listening input. So don't forget about audio and video with associated exercises. Good. I also want to move on finally to just make a few general points about study exercises. Okay, so have a look at the first one. Okay, so I mentioned this before, that vocabulary exercises must contain only words that you've used in your vocab set. As you saw in our example ESA lesson, you should certainly elicit other words the students know about the topic. But unless you can accurately anticipate what they're going to tell you, you can't really build those into your exercise. Okay, so we should always bear in mind what the study exercises are actually for. Okay, these study exercises, whatever type you're using, it's for the students to practice getting the language point accurately. Okay, whether it's a grammar point or a form of word for vocab, they're practicing getting the word accurately, getting the sentence structure accurate, the grammatical structure accurate, the word in the correct place in the sentence, etc. Okay, so it's all about accuracy. And the students need that because they need adequate practice in getting accurate use of the language in order for them to be familiar enough with the language so that they're comfortable attempting the activate activity. Okay, so we must give them adequate practice. And so in a 1-hour lesson, you should aim for minimum 2, but probably 3 study exercises. Okay, bear in mind, of course, the time constraint. These exercises shouldn't be too long. Certainly don't give them a 30-question exercise. Okay, 8 to 10 questions or sentences will be fine. And as I mentioned, they should build up in level of difficulty and complexity. Okay, and as we said, the final study exercise can act as a model for the activate. Bearing in mind that whatever activity you've got for your activate, the students should be using only language that's been covered in that lesson. They can certainly use language they already know in conjunction with that, okay? But certainly don't have any language that they haven't done yet. Okay? And so it's important that if it's new language, the students have had adequate practice with it. Okay, any questions at all about those points?
No, nothing I can think of.
No, it's pretty clear, yeah.
Okay, good. So hopefully now you have more of an idea of the full scope of exercises that you can study. So variety is the spice of life, and so not only should you try and avoid doing the same type of exercise lesson after lesson, but certainly those 2 or 3 exercises within any one lesson should be different times. Okay? So let's say hopefully that will give you a few ideas for that. Okay, that's all I want to say for that on the moment. So bye until the next video.
All right, thank you.
Okay.